The first Christian martyr's death changed the course of religious history forever. But what's fascinating is how Stephen's execution was actually witnessed by the man who would become Christianity's greatest missionary.
You know what's remarkable about this story? Stephen completely flips the script during his trial, turning what should have been his defense into this masterful takedown of religious hypocrisy.
Well, that's exactly right. And he does it by walking through Jewish history in this really clever way. He starts with Abraham, showing how God worked outside the temple, outside the Holy Land, basically dismantling their whole rigid system.
Hmm. The way he builds his argument is fascinating. Each historical example adds another layer until, boom, he connects it all to Jesus.
And you know what's really interesting? He spends more time talking about Moses than anyone else, drawing these incredible parallels. Both Moses and Jesus were deliverers. Both performed miracles, and here's the kicker. Both were initially rejected by their own people.
That must have made the religious leaders absolutely furious, seeing their revered figures used to validate the very person they had condemned.
Oh, for sure. And then Stephen goes for the jugular, calling them stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears. These were loaded terms that basically accused them of being no better than pagans. The text says they were literally grinding their teeth in rage.
Speaking of unexpected details, what's your take on that moment when Stephen sees Jesus standing at God's right hand? Usually, Jesus is described as sitting in heaven.
Well, that's one of the most intriguing parts. Some scholars suggest Jesus stood up to welcome the first Christian martyr, like a judge standing to honor someone in court. Others think it shows Jesus rising as Stephen's advocate before God.
The symbolism is so powerful. Right as his earthly judges condemn him, Stephen sees his heavenly advocate standing for him.
And then there's this young man named Saul holding the coats of the executioners. Like, imagine being there, watching this brutal scene, having no idea you'd eventually become Paul the Apostle and write half the New Testament.
That transformation is mind blowing when you think about it. From supervising Stephen's execution to eventually dying for the same cause.
You know what really gets me? Stephen's last words echo Jesus on the cross. Lord, don't hold this sin against them. It's like, um, he's literally dying, and he's more concerned about his killer's souls than his own life.
The ripple effects from that moment were enormous, weren't they? The persecution that followed scattered believers throughout the region.
Right? And here's where it gets really interesting. That scattering actually accelerated the spread of Christianity. What looked like a devastating setback became this catalyst for global expansion. The text says believers went everywhere, preaching the word.
So, in a way, Stephen's death marked this crucial transition point where Christianity began moving beyond its Jewish roots.
Exactly. And you know what's fascinating? The text describes his death so tenderly. It says he fell asleep. But it was like this wake-up call for the early church. Sometimes the most powerful messages come through sacrifice.
That's such a profound point about how standing for truth can have impacts far beyond what we can see in the moment.
Well, and here we are, 2 millennia later, still talking about this pivotal moment. It really makes you think about how our own choices, our own stands for truth, might affect generations we'll never meet.